Pierre, you are the fuck.
If you inhabit planet Earth, chances are you've heard the buzz about Bluey expecting a pup, spreading like wildfire across the globe. But could Jean-Luc be the father of this next-gen star of the world's most famous cartoon? After all, the little blue dog's offspring sports several purple patches in its fur, which matches Jean-Luc's exact hue. Moreover, there are a few other subtle hints that might suggest this historical twist, indicating that this baby isn't Mackenzie's, but rather Bluey's other crush. Check out all the details right here. Bluey's future life. To delve deeper into the theory that Jean-Luc might be the father of Bluey's pup, we had to look into the future life of the series' protagonist. We certainly know our beloved Bluey didn't become a singer as she grew up, as that's definitely not her forte, as seen in the Dance Mode episode, or even in Mini Bluey. So, it's clear she continued her studies and eventually graduated, as we can see from the digital image next to the healer's door. And, besides playing a lot, one thing Bluey loves to do is read, evidenced by the absurd number of books at home, as seen when Chili is searching for books to return to the library.
Where is it? Four. I like to ask a lot of questions. Mom, what are you doing?
Based on this, it's safe to say Bluey, as she grows up, will have a strong inclination to read more and may even pursue literature studies, given her penchant for reading. And who knows, she might even become a literature researcher or professor, possibly teaching at a Brisbane college. And this might hold true, as when Bluey and Jean-Luc meet again many years later, Bingo's older sister is reading a book. Actually, muffins, under the tree they planted years before. Bluey's exchange. When Bluey and Jean-Luc meet, we can tell they're both excited, evident from the smiles on their faces and their wagging tails.
Hello, Bluey.
The true indicators of excitement in dogs. After that encounter, we can imagine that Jean-Luc might have given the blue pup, now a teenager, some very famous French literature books, such as The Little Prince or The Three Musketeers, which are globally renowned books. Since Jean-Luc would be on vacation again with his family, he would eventually have to leave again, but not without spending a good amount of time with Bluey, just like he did the first time. But we have to remember that now they're teenagers, aged 12 to 13, not children aged 6 and 7. So, they would get to know each other much better and talk about much more than just building twigs and leaf houses. Adolescence is an incredible phase of life, so if you've already been through it or are yet to, comment below, #teen. This way, they would get closer and realize they really like each other until the day they say goodbye again. But this time, Bluey understands everything Jean-Luc says, as he learned her language so they could communicate perfectly when they met again. After that, Bluey would read these gifts and books that the Purple Labrador had given her, and she would be so fascinated that she would read several other books in French as well. At the same time, she would keep in touch with Jean-Luc by phone and messages. When she graduates, the blue pup would then make her first trip to Canada, where Jean-Luc lives, to study French literature and at the same time revisit her crush, going to meet him for the first time. And from there, they would have started dating, and even after returning to Australia, they would continue their long-distance relationship. And sooner or later, the Purple Labrador would move to Brisbane and the two would then get engaged and married. This would give rise to their family, with several little puppies born from this union, one of which would exactly be the puppy that appears at the end of the surprise episode. And if you look closely, you'll notice that he has some very striking characteristics.
No one. That's weird.
Oh no.
Fur color. If there's one thing the Bluey Show is really good at, it's distributing the genetic inheritance of the series' dogs, making it clear how much each of them may have inherited a certain fur color according to who their parents are. As we can see with Chili and Brandy, who are mixes of their parents, just like the Healer sisters themselves, being an almost perfect combination of colors and patterns. And the first thing we notice about Bluey's little pup is that his appearance really resembles Bandit, his grandfather, when he was still a child. We can see that both characters have a voluminous amount of fur on their cheeks, and they both have orange inside their ears. At the same time, we also notice that the little Healer's pup of the new generation also has characteristics from his grandmother's side, having 2 spots on his head, 1 on each side, even though they are of different colors. But showing that, just like Brandy, his grandmother's sister, the spots along his body are distributed on the sides of his body. And looking at the spots of the little pup, we can notice that practically all the spots on his little body are purple, which is exactly the color of Jean-Luc's fur. except of course for the spot on the right side of his head, which is dark blue, just like Grandpa Bandit's. In other words, we can say that Bluey's pup would be a perfect mix of the Heeler family and Jean-Luc's family. Adventurous spirit. However, far beyond the physical aspects, we can say that Bluey's pup also seems to have a personality very similar to both his mother and his father, if he really is the Purple Labrador. This is because we notice that he has an advanced hunting instinct, as he is ready to start hunting his own grandfather at any moment. And if we go back in time, let's remember that Jean-Luc did the same thing alongside Bluey in the camping episode, where Bandit was the wild boar they needed to catch. So, in any case, it really seems that hunting the good old grandpa is in the family's DNA, whether inherited by Bluey or inherited by Jean-Luc. So, if you have a DNA focused on liking cartoons and animated movies, your best option is definitely to subscribe to the channel and not miss our next videos. Another detail we can notice in this scene is that the doorbell of the Heeler's house has moved, and we can see that it is right above the head of Bluey's pup, who is hiding. But even so, we can see that it is too high for the little pup to reach by himself, which means he may very well have had the help of an adult who may have either rung the doorbell or lifted the little pup up high enough so he could press the button himself. And surely, this person could have been the adult version of Jean-Luc, who was just watching to see if his pup would have the same skills to catch the wild boar, just like he did in the past. This would definitely be another indication that the father of the little pup could very well be the Purple Labrador from Canada. Small details. England, which is part of Great Britain, plays a prominent role in Bluey's story, as it was there that Bandit and Chili started dating after having known each other since childhood. And throughout the surprise episode, we can see that Bandit tries at all costs to watch a race where we see competitors from various countries. We can see that by the large number of British flags scattered around the racetrack, it is happening in England. And probably the most famous person in England for many years was the Queen of that country. What few people know is that the sovereigns of England are also the monarchs of many other countries around the world, including Australia and Canada, which are exactly the countries where Bluey and Jean-Luc live. So, these flags can be very subtle hints that there is a very close correlation between the origins of Bluey and Jean-Luc. In addition, we can notice that one of the dogs competing in the race has a helmet with three very characteristic colors, which are blue, white, and red. These three colors are the same colors that represent the flag of France, the country of the origin of the language that Jean-Luc also speaks. Another very interesting point that happens in the same episode is that we can see that when the game is over, we can see the Heeler's house from the outside. And a few years go by in a few seconds, and we can notice a very interesting thing. Note that as the years go by, we see that buildings have emerged, delivery drones fly over the skies of Brisbane, but another very cool thing also happens. We see the tree in the Heeler's backyard grow even more and become even more leafy. And the only time in the whole show that we see this happening is exactly in the camping episode, and the growth of the tree in this episode meant exactly the maturation of Bluey and Jean-Luc. So, this could very well be another small clue left by the show's creators. In other words, we can notice a series of small details that lead us to remember characteristics that have everything to do with the old friend and perhaps current husband of Bluey. And honestly, I don't really believe in coincidences in this series. Do you? These are very interesting pieces of evidence that there really is a chance for Jean-Luc and Bluey to form a beautiful and very happy couple, with a puppy who will love to hunt his own grandfather. Of course, only the future will tell if this is really the reality. While we wait for confirmation or not of this theory that makes perfect sense, we've picked out two very cool videos for you to check out right now if you want. You just need to click and have fun. Thanks, and see you in the next video.